So, Nav, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. First of all, could you just introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do?
I'm primarily a behaviors and addictions counsellor, and soon to be a transpersonal integrative psychotherapy. It's sort of where the East meets the West. So we have the Eastern sort of spiritual traditions, and we have the Western psychological, studies and developments that sort of merge together. That's what I do. But primarily, when I say addictions, it sort of deals more with the early years, trauma.
So what kind of people would you say you work with? Who are the type? What are these people like?
I work in a private drug and alcohol rehab. It's one of the more renowned ones in Britain. And I also do some work for the NHS at the Royal Free Hospital, where I work at the alcohol liaison service, which is a part of my training to be the psychotherapist. Normal people like yourself and me, a lot of the ones, because there is this misconception that, for somebody to be an addict, they may not be a privilege or, a background, but it's actually really intelligent, highly successful, functioning people at some points in time, which also have, parts of their lives which are completely unmanageable. So there's that that's one side, which is sort of the manageable, functional people with addictive problems. And then the other ones are the ones who struggle really hard and have lost a lot of their, relationships, wealth, find themselves in a sort of more emotionally fragile, depleted state. So a wide range really. Men, women, younger people, the younger generations, you're getting a lot of people with processed addictions, the internet or gaming. Then you have a lot of people who have functional lives but have pornography addictions. Very, very varied range from people that are highly accomplished professionals to people that probably haven't done so well.
Wide vast of people who will struggle with addiction. It's more about people in general who become addicted to something.
It could be anyone. It could be amongst us. I think we, as a general population, of course, I'm generalizing here. Almost all that I say in this will not be an absolute thing. So I just want to sort of point that out. They will have people who might not fit into what I'm sort of saying. It could be anything really that sort of leaves a person into sort of feeling that void within them that they fill with. It could be through what society celebrates. We live in a society that celebrates work, for instance. So, and it's almost, a lot of people actually talk about, hey, I'm so busy, I don't have a minute to stop. A lot of people look at that as a wonderful thing. It's seen as, the person's so busy, they're doing so well. So it sort of has become a measure of success. But then you see that they might go home and they might not have time for the children or physical well-being, or, it's sort of one-dimensional lifestyle, really. And that, at a certain point, when it becomes chronic, where that's all I do, and creates that imbalance, it manifests physically. So yes, in answer to your question, it could be anyone or anything.
If you're somebody who already struggles with anxiety in general, in the situation that we're in with the lockdown, the uncertainty, I'm speaking to many of my own clients who are saying I'm struggling with anxiety because I'm anxious, because I'm not in control and I'm worried about what might happen. There's those people who are new to this worry, but what about people who already are prone to struggle with anxiety? How is this affecting them?
It's as anxiety by its very nature is something that, if you were to measure it on a time scale, lives in the future, which means that I am, at this point in time, using that as an example, worried about or uncertain about the outcome or what the future might hold for me. It could be in terms of finances, it could be in terms of relationships, it could be in terms of my own confidence, anxiety around sort of maybe a presentation. This is an entirely different thing. I think a lot of people in the last 30, 40 years might not have seen, certainly in the developed nations, or even more really, would have experienced such a sort of, mass society-based and interpersonal anxieties. And it is something that almost everyone is impacted by, individuals in the family, it'd be parents who have stayed busy going to work and then have children at home. It's people who might be laid off or worry that they might be laid off. It'd be businesses, small and big, who might have anxiety around how long to, hold and, be paying salaries. So it's it'll be the elderly who anyway live lives where, they don't have much contact with other people. And, their children who sort of see them off and on or occasionally may not be able to come and see them. So it's across various sectors. And we certainly, me as a therapist, certainly, there is, this is the beginning of what will be. I think what would be interesting to watch is what happens over the next few days. And of course, there's the media, the fact that we have information available at hand. So it almost doesn't allow us time to sort of, digest information and sit with and try to sort of make sense of, or use our own faculties to see what is the message being conveyed as well. So it's this whole world of instant information that we live in, and it's that does also create anxiety.
I love what you touched on in the sense that anxiety is a timeline, and it's really based on thinking about the future, not the present. At the moment, we don't really know. So I understand how the rise in anxiety is we're going to see more and more people experiencing anxiety, which they didn't have before. What else do you think we could foresee in terms of the children? I was consciously aware that young people growing up in this time and seeing their parents experiencing anxiety or worry, or how we're going to pay the bills, how we're going to feed you. Even today, my sons had some crisp, and then after they finished, they went and had some more. And I felt like they can't keep doing this because we will run out of crisps. Well, I've never had that thought ever in my life, but I was thinking, am I going to have to tell them that they can't act like they normally act because now we have to ration, possibly, maybe? And should I be educating them on, only eating to satisfy themselves rather than eating because the food's there?
It's a hard one. The worries of the last 40, 50 years have been about abundance or, how much is enough? There hasn't been really, the whole progression making our lives easier. It was about making sure that at a flick of a switch, we've got energy, which we can utilize. We've got water that's available. Go online and you can order stuff and it's delivered to you. So almost everything sort of works in that way where our value systems are very different. So, it'd be unfair if, just given where we are right now, the children are sort of also put the pressure on to sort of suddenly develop something that they cannot comprehend because, also because they, as a part of growing up, have not really had to worry that much about things being available. There is that part where children are concerned, and then there's, the concerns as a mother, as a parent, might not be able to provide them for the availability and the uncertainty, all that they seek. And how would you cope with that disappointment? So there are different things. One is from the perspective of a parent, and one is, from that of a child. And I think one of the key things, and this is, sort of not just in this, is about the relationship between a parent and a child. I think that is something that is going to be really important, because this is going to be, this is about our relationship with the outside world. It's going to be about a relationship with our inner selves. How do we manage our own feelings? It's going to be about a relationship with the little ones. So I think the key thing here would be about an opportunity really for parents to sort of start to develop healthy and certainly a communicative relationship where it's okay, while the children are expressing their concerns or frustrations, we're able to hold that for them, while not completely sort of not allowing them to also hold some part of it, because interestingly, our capacity to hold stress or manage stress or anxiety also grows as much as we handle it as well. So it's almost like building a muscle. The more we work with it, the more we can sit with the sort of unknown, the stronger we are and more resilient we are. So I think it's going to be a steady and a slow process, but I think it starts with healthy, effective communication. And I think somewhere we would need to, because I think it's going to be a hard one to explain to children why they can't be outside, So there'll be lots of things we're dealing with. And I think the best way I personally feel is clear, simple, effective communication. And then comes how much of information do I give them? What do I tell them that they'll be able to hold and say, that's all right. So I think a lot of it would be about the parents also learning to be able to ground their anxiety when they go to the children, and not just literally flip and just be reactive to the child. I think this is going to be about more proactive behavior.
Proactive parenting.
Absolutely.
Proactive parent. I like that idea. So let me tell you a little bit about this product that I created a while ago. So this is called the Confidence Star. Can you see it? So I chose these words specifically because a lot of the people that I've been speaking to over the years, the issues are, I am nobody, I'm not good enough, I can't do anything, and I don't like myself. Or I'm nobody and I wish I was somebody else. So I took the most popular phrases that people say and flipped it and put the words, I am somebody, I am good enough, I can do anything, I like myself. And I started it off with my sons. One of my sons is autistic, and I was very conscious that he might have a different record playing through his mind and with the challenges he struggles with socially. So we started saying those words, and since then the stars are in schools and stuff. But I was thinking around this time of creating a routine, a positive routine, like you said, parents to connect with their children, but also to create high levels of confidence and self-esteem within the children and within the parents, and for them to have something like this in the house and to have it as part of the daily routine, where you bring the star into the home, you sit down with the family and you say, we've got this star because we believe in you and we love you and we care about you and we want you to feel good about yourself in this uncertain time, and we're going to put the star up, and every day as part of our daily family routine is we're going to say these words. This is a no banter safe space, because I think sometimes when you're at home, the most important thing is to have a safe space where you can be yourself, be free, be vulnerable, let all your inhibitions go, and not have a bigger brother or a younger sister poking at you and undermining you, and that the parents just do a blanket. This is our family mission. Our mission is to treat each other with kindness and care, and our mission is every day to say these words, but also to not undermine each other by criticising or poking fun. And this could be a way that families could really unite.
You see the first word in the star that you have, all the four, is the I, right?
Yes.
And when you talk about the I, what is that I? What forms that I? I is formed through my interaction with pretty much the feed I get, the nurturing. Then now when you talk about the nurturing, we're talking about the external, so it's the nature, nurture kind of thing. So the nurturing is the environment, so when you talk about good enough parenting, that sort of spreads on to not just parents per se, the mother and the father, but the environmental mother and the environmental father. What is the environment? So the extended, even schooling for that matter, wherever the learning is, it could be through online forums, it could any place of where the child absorbs. Now in that, the I is the key part. Now if the I is criticized, or if the I is bullied, if the I is not allowed to express themselves, or they're scared to express themselves, the I will automatically start to adapt. So then you have children that are adapted negatively. They'll be compliant and they'll be really good, but they would not own their own voice. So they might start to learn to disown their feelings. Like children are young. They, as much as they whatever they feel, they would not really just go and express. They won't turn around to a parent and when they're this little or they're young and say, oh, well, actually, Mommy, I'm not going to listen to you, they have that, because after a while they have to learn to adapt, because Mommy is the authority. Mommy, they have to listen to it, because if they don't, then somewhere they might not feel accepted. They're scared of rejection. Which then also sort of goes into sort of people who become people pleasing, And I think I saw this on Facebook somewhere, and it's a cliche. And I think what it said was that when a child is criticized too much, or a child is criticized, it's not that they stop loving the parent, they just stop loving themselves. I think, and that was sort of quite a hard one, and I was quite moved by it. But that sort of, this particular thing sort of covers broadly what happens, and that also then leads into a lot of sort of problems as we grow into adults, because somewhere we have learned not to allow us love ourselves, and that's the sort of inherent shame we brought up with. Byproduct of that, we could be perfectionists, as we could also achieve brilliant things because we're constantly trying to be better. But somewhere we lose ourselves. It's a hard task for parents, while they're also struggling to do so. Why is it that we have to be happy all the time? Why do I have to be in a state of, ecstasy all the time? Why do I have to be joyous all the time? That is not how human beings are made to be. Because the very fact that I register happiness, it has to be in contrast to what I don't perceive as happy or sad in another term. And I think it's equally important that our resilience, it's like the virus, why the current world is why we're all scared and we might succumb to it. So a lot of us that are not strong is because we do not have the immunity. And same way, we also need the emotional immunity. If I cannot develop a relationship with sadness and pain, then I'll constantly seek happiness, which means that when I don't have it, I succumb to the lack of. And that is pretty much what's happening in a biological way. We don't have immunities to this virus. But as they're saying, and they use the word herd immunity and things like that, that's a big topic, so I won't get into it right now. But what it's saying is, same way, emotionally, this is going to be something that will get us ready for the future challenges. But of course, the tough one is we all have to be safe to get through this. And, so we are also developing some level of emotional immunity, which a lot of us as parents and younger people haven't had a chance to. So we're all in it for the learning, it's well and good to sort of know something cognitively. And I think as a parent, you know that better, for someone who's sort of done this and written a lot about it, there is going to be you that is going to also have to experience it, which means that you will find yourself being a better parent, which is, or certainly a more robust parent. And so will your children in that sort of sphere. Yeah.
So are you basically saying that we should just embrace the fact that we don't know everything and show our children that we don't know everything and we have limitations, because that will inspire them? Mummy and daddy struggle with that. They're not perfect, and I don't need to be perfect, and it's okay.
Absolutely. What is perfect anyway? Is information perfect? If I know more things, is that perfect? For me, like when I have a leaking tap, then a plumber is the perfect solution for it. In that case, I'll be imperfect every time I judge myself on the fact that I'm not a good... Was it Einstein who said that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, he'll spend his life feeling stupid. Those weren't the words, but I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. What I'm saying is I can't, if I compare myself to somebody who's more skilled and more knowledgeable in any field, what does that mean? And
I think that's why comparison is something that you just don't do. There's no point comparing yourself to anybody. I think Will Smith said that I compare myself to nobody, only to myself. Absolutely. Or thought, I'm only in competition with myself. Every day I'm trying to be the best I can be. I like what you said about happiness too.
One of the key people who helped me in my life, in my sort of tough days. And he had a wonderful definition of happiness. I don't know if it's his personal or... And he said, happiness is also overcoming of obstacles, which means that for us to be happy, we need to overcome something as well.
Love that.
Happiness is also about, it's a state. Now, I could be a happy person that might feel sad in the moment, but overall, it's also a state of being. Happiness is also something that you can keep increasing by the amount of gratitude you have in your life. Now, if you look at some spiritual traditions, Christianity, I'd imagine, certainly the religion that I was brought up in, talks about offering gratitude, and that gratitude is through sharing, with people that are lesser. So there's so many ways we find happiness, and it's not a standard, but it's a state of being. It's based on, again, our relationship of abundance, saying that that's fine. This bag of crisps will do me. And I think, and it's somewhere we can also sort of teach the children that, this is enough for me. I'm fine. We're also teaching them to say, to sit with the discomfort of saying no to themselves. That, I just can't keep having crisps all the time because that's the imbalance. So it all sort of links in together.
But I think it's exciting. Just speaking to you is making me think about how I'm going to behave during this lockdown. I think it's about being present in the moment and not thinking about the future, because that might create anxiety if you're worrying about things that are going to happen. about being happy, but understanding that being sad is okay still.
Yeah.
Not trying to look like you've got all your shit together. Because if
Absolutely.
you don't, you don't.
Yeah, and that's the point. If you don't, you don't. And then you work towards putting it together. I mean, I certainly believe that now. My greatest struggle is when I'm trying to control the outcomes. My greatest unhappiness is when I'm disappointed in the outcomes. My greatest acceptance and satisfaction is when I allow myself to go with whatever's happening. So there's a part of me that sits here and I recognize my lack of control on my environment right now. The fact that my parents sit in India and I'm not with them. And I might not be able to get to them should they need help. My business in India that I can't sort of control, having worked 15, 20 years to make it where it is, even longer. And the fact that, part of it was going to be my retirement fund and that the value might have gone down. So there's so much out there that I can't control. And when I allow myself the fact that, yes, I will lose that. And don't get me wrong. I mean, it's excruciating to sort of get to that place. That, to me, that is sort of the work. And it's hard. It is very hard. I know words are easier said and the work is difficult, but I think that is the work.